Hi everybody, welcome back to Bridges and Branches. I'm so excited today to do today's video with you guys. This is going to be different than before. We're actually going to do a little bit of time traveling back to 1896, 1897 to a haunted schoolhouse. I first learned about this on a Facebook group called Abandoned Minnesota, and a lady named Barbara posted pictures of this schoolhouse. And all I could tell was that it was near Rapidan, Minnesota. So I went to try to find it. It's on private property, so you don't want to trespass, but it was, some of the comments said that it could be seen from the road. Well, I couldn't see it from the road. I couldn't find it anywhere. So I reached out to Barbara and just asked permission to use her pictures. And as things go with stuff like this, we decided to collaborate on this video. And so she's going to be joining me, and she's got all these facts that I haven't heard yet, all these stories, news clippings, pictures. Um, and we're going to be able to get onto the property and be able to film the inside of the schoolhouse and see it right there firsthand. So, a haunted schoolhouse, but there's a twist. Something you guys would never ever expect. A complete surprise. So, I'm on my way to go meet Barbara now. Be back in just a minute.
Okay, go me.
You must be Barbara. I have to film it our first chance meeting.
So I'm Barbara. I'm a Mankato native, born and raised, and native to Blue Earth County, of course. And I first heard about the Yaeger Schoolhouse around about 2017, 2018, when I checked out a book from the library. It was a volume put out by the Blue Earth County Historical Society, a compilation of different articles of their newsletters. And on the title, it had the ghost of the Yaeger Schoolhouse on it. So I
Cool.
like history and I like paranormal.
Yeah. Yep.
So of course the title intrigued me. So I grabbed it and read it. And it was about a page and a half long. It wasn't very long, but it
Hmm.
was a very thorough history of the Yaeger Schoolhouse here in rural Blue Earth County in the Rapidan Township.
Hmm.
And just this really fascinating story about a man named Cyrus Miller. He did go by a couple of different aliases, and I can explain that further.
Hmm.
How for about a period of 18 months in the late 1800s, almost to the turn of the century,
Hmm.
he made a home and lived in the underneath of the schoolhouse, completely dug out a little hideaway and furnished it and was stealing necessities from neighboring farms around here. And it managed to elude the not only the citizens, but the law enforcement, local law enforcement, for that period of 18 months until he was
Oh my
finally caught.
God. Wait, talking about necessities. I mean, what was it then that made people think the school was haunted then?
Okay, so what actually made the residents feel like it could only be a ghost when he fashioned the hideout in underneath the school. He had piped into the school's chimney system so he could run a stove and draw the gas out so he could cook and heat it and that sort of thing. And various people would walk by the school and see smoke coming out of the chimney.
Uh,
And they'd be like, well, school's not in session. What's going on? And they'd go up to the school and touch the stove and it'd be cold.
Weird.
And then I have some research that I found too on the teacher at the time, Eva Hauer was her name. And she recalled walking into the school one morning and seeing a window open. And at first she just kind of dismissed it, shut the window, and went on about her day. And then another time she walked into the school and there was bits of paper scattered around, and she also saw a man's footprints on the floor of the schoolhouse.
Oh my gosh.
And so it kind of alerted her, but then again, there was nobody was in the schoolhouse as far as she could see. So then one by one, children started coming and saying, well, clothes were stolen off of our clothesline, and eggs were stolen out of our chicken coop, and different things kept coming up missing, and no thief was ever caught, nobody was ever seen. um, and so it turned into, well, we have to have a ghost around here. I mean,
Yeah.
somebody's, we see smoke coming out of the chimney, but the stove is cold,
Yeah.
cold to the touch, and it could only be the work of a ghost.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. And to the left of Barbara is her cousin Stephanie. Do you have similar stories of this time too? You live here in Rapidan. Did your relatives kind of?
I'm here in Rapidan. I haven't always lived here. I grew
Okay.
up over by Elysian.
Okay.
I used to be the one of the carriers on the route that the schoolhouse is currently on,
Oh.
and I didn't really know the history of it or the story of it at the time. And in the direction in which I would cover the route, the building is more behind where I would be, like the opposite direction I'd be driving.
Okay.
So I happened to see it a couple times, and I wasn't really aware what it was or what the story of it was. I didn't know if it was a church or what it was. And I mentioned it to her, and she's like, "Oh, that's a schoolhouse." And I was like, "Okay." And how do you know?
And I found out in my research they had a summer term and a winter term. There was a male teacher for the summer term, and then this Miss Eva Hauer was the teacher for the winter term.
Mhm.
And they, I believe she was the teacher for the bulk of the happenings that were going on and
Okay.
the things
Yeah.
that were taking place. She was definitely the teacher in session when everything came to a head and Mr. Cyrus Miller was caught and in jail in Mankato awaiting trial. Um, and so Sheriff Bowen from Mankato, Blue Earth County Sheriff, had came out to the school, waited till the school day was over so the children were gone,
Oh.
and approached Miss Hauer and was like, you need to come inside. I have something to tell you and show you. And that's how she discovered. Yeah, yeah. He sat her down and he said, we've got this guy in custody. He said he's been living in the basement here. And they slid away her desk and opened up the trap
Oh
door
my
and went down
gosh.
inside. She said she couldn't believe it. She said he he was the neatest, most orderly ghost she'd ever heard of because everything had its place, and
Oh.
he had a complete apartment down there.
Like what? What was in there?
He had a cot.
Okay.
He there are drawings depicting a wooden chair. It wasn't mentioned in an article, so I don't know if that was a
Oh.
I'm sorry, an artist's rendering.
Yeah.
Like maybe this would have been, but she had noted there were pictures on the wall. He had hung up his utensils, his pots, and things like that because he didn't have any cupboards. He had no way to
Yeah.
really build cupboards, but he had a stove. He had books. He had carpeting. He had even put wallpaper up on the walls. Don't ask
On
me
the dirt
how.
wall?
On the dirt wall. Don't ask me how. But they said it had yeah, he made it a home.
Yeah.
And several accounts, different articles that I was able to research had said that even the most keenest carpenter or mason could not have seen that thing was
Oh my
cut
gosh.
out that way. He did everything so completely, and then inside where the trap door was, he did it on the seams of the floor so that everything lined up.
Oh.
And so he barely used that trapdoor system. He primarily only used it if he wished to get up into the school, which he
Oh.
did sometimes to play
Yeah.
the organ.
Oh,
So
and it was decorated with things that he'd stolen
yes,
as the ghost.
yep, he had the linens, he had the clothes,
Oh my gosh.
pictures.
Why didn't he just have a house? Why did he build a room under the house to begin with, or the school to begin with?
I'm not really entirely sure. Okay, so how Mr. Miller was not a native Minnesotan.
Okay.
Mr. Miller was an escaped convict from
Oh.
the state penitentiary of Nebraska in Lincoln, Nebraska. He was sentenced to 1 year there for theft in Nebraska. And 7 months into his sentence, he decided this isn't for me. I got to get out of here. So he tunneled out of the penitentiary. And the one account that actually had this story of how he came to be here said that he stayed in that tunnel for 3 days while they were out looking for him, and then ultimately escaped. And he had food with him; he had provisions, so he
Oh my
wasn't
gosh.
sickly and weak. And
Yeah.
yeah, very
Yeah,
very
smart.
smart guy.
Oh,
And
okay.
by his account, after his capture, he said he wanted to live in Fairmont. I don't know how he came to hear about the community
Yeah.
or what was his draw there. but he wanted to live in Fairmont. He wanted to work and he wanted to save money, and then he wanted to attend the normal school in Mankato. And that was his goal.
Okay.
And primarily, what he took was off of farm sites, and it was functional to him. So food. Um, he got a cow, got it off a farm site, milked it, and let the cow wander back home the next day. And
They did that with teams of horses too, where
that
they would take them and run them.
yeah, teams of horses and take them and run them. Now, whether he was driving them further out to commit other thefts or what, but the farmers would know, could see the horses were sweaty,
Yeah.
had been worked very hard.
In the morning,
In the morning.
In the morning. So he was
Yeah.
doing these capers at night, where he could sneak out and then sneak in, and he would spend time sleeping in the basement of the schoolhouse. But there were times that he would look up through the chimney and he could see the school, that the proceedings that were going on that day, the
Oh my
lessons and
gosh.
things. So yeah, Mr. Miller, I get a laugh out of him because he was able to evade law enforcement here on a couple of different occasions.
How was he eventually caught?
Okay, so he stole a bike from Mankato,
Oh.
and it was described as a bright red bicycle worth $75 in that time. So
Okay. Yeah.
you think in the late 1800s, a bicycle that's worth $75.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a very high end bicycle. So he stole that. He reports because the current bicycle that he had broken down, so he needed a new one.
Okay.
So he stole this, and the owners of the store came, saw the bicycle was missing, and gave law enforcement a description. Be on the lookout for this bicycle. It's ours. It was stolen. And lo and behold, it was discovered in Fairmont. Now, there's conflicting reports here, too. One report said that the Martin County Sheriff physically saw Cyrus riding the bicycle and arrested him right then and there. Another report I read said that the bicycle was discovered stashed under a bridge in the Fairmont area, and there were quote unquote guards put up. I don't know if it was just the sheriff's posse or if these were deputies, but there were guards put in place around the bridge area to wait for the bandit to come back. So, and at the time, they didn't know who they were looking for particularly. They just knew that bicycle was reported stolen from Mankato, and they knew if it's stashed here, they're most likely going to be back for it. And that's either way, he was caught in the city of Fairmont and then transported back to Mankato, and he readily confessed. They asked, well, where have you been staying all of this time? And he said, well, under the Yaeger Schoolhouse. And they couldn't believe it themselves.
Yeah.
So that's why the sheriff, when he went to inform Miss Hauer about it, and what this guy was claiming, they were able to move the desk and open up the trap door, and
gosh.
there was a tunnel about 3 feet wide, and they went down it and then found his hideout, which was 6.5 by 9 foot, I believe. And he had thrown dirt in between the floor of the school and the ceiling of his hideout to buffer any noise
that he might be making.
Yeah,
Oh
if he were to make noise.
Yeah.
He did most of his capering at night. So everybody would be sleeping, and he can move about in, the darkness, and sneak in and sneak out. He made it for 18 months, and had it not been for that bright red bicycle.
How did you learn all of this? How did you find all this out?
Just a lot of digging. I did go research at the Blue Earth County Historical Society yesterday. They were most accommodating. They were so excited to hear that this was what I was wanting to research. And they had a file a good inch and a half thick of it, but vastly. It's been an unknown tale. I mean, people local to the area that have deep roots here probably know it because they have relatives who once attended the Yaeger Schoolhouse, far down the family tree.
Yeah.
But really, it was not even anything I heard in Mankato, which is, within 10 miles of here. So it's a very local history.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just such a fascinating story
Yes.
because, you know, it's got the intrigue of paranormal, but at the same time, it's just this really crafty man who managed to do all this stuff and get by with it
Yeah. Yeah.
for a year and a half.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you know, I sit and I imagine, like, well, did neighbors maybe start to turn on each other, like, well, you had to have been the one who took this,
You
you
took
know?
my horse, you took my
I
cow.
mean, or did they really, were they that tightly knit that they just knew the character of their neighbors and said, well, there's no way,
Yeah.
it has to be an outsider.
Yeah.
There was a young student, Miss Hauer had talked about, I'm going to quick look up her name here because I can't remember it. Leona Holberg. Okay, so she went and told Miss Hauer that, you know, in the height of all of these things happening, that her and her mother were outside working on the farm, and over by the corn crib they heard a noise, and they said, "Oh, that's got to be that thief. You know, we caught him now. You know." So, and I don't understand a mother and a child thinking that they can take down an elusive criminal, but they were so frustrated by that point of all of these things being stolen around here that they didn't, you know, it wasn't like, oh, let's go find a man and have him check it out. Let's see who is taking care of this. So they went one side of the corn crib and they snuck around the backside, and it was a young calf sneaking corn out of the corn crib.
So fascinating.
Yeah.
Should we go to the school now?
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, kudos to the Blue Earth County Historical Society.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we want to give a shout out to them for sure. We're gonna get in the car and...
I mean, they were most helpful. They were most gracious. They let me do my research on credit yesterday, and you know, it's a
nice.
wonderful, wonderful entity to have. And I guess I didn't even think that they actually had an actual research center in there with archives.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to spend a lot of time there.
Yeah, you might be. Yeah, yeah. So we're not going to film the route to the school because this is on private property and we want to respect the owners and their privacy. So we will pick this back up again when we're at the school.
Yep.
I mean, it just looks stately, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. It's an impressive schoolhouse. I mean, it's a very fancy schoolhouse for the late 1800s. Yeah.
Should we walk around the outside first?
Yeah, we absolutely could.
Let's go. Like, I wonder what all this wall thing is.
You know, that's a good question. I think older pictures I saw from exactly 1900, what they were dated as 1900, it was here, but it was just like this here. So I don't know if it was an extra support or if it was something that they had to build after Cyrus did what he did to the floor. Now, they did say that he weakened the floor structure when he was making the trapdoor inside the school. Luckily, the floor didn't collapse, and nobody was hurt as a result of that.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing a branch off. There wasn't a complete building on the side of it.
Yeah, we were talking to one of the neighbors before we started recording, and he thought this had been moved a few miles. That it started out closer to Mankato, a few miles closer. Was it closer to Mankato?
Yeah, further down, Highway 66, he seemed to think.
Yeah.
So it must have been a private person who purchased it and then moved it onto their property.
Onto this property?
Yes, onto this current property.
Yeah. We have another rock wall on this side, but not as big.
Yeah.
Huh. And that doesn't look like it's just, I mean, those aren't field rock that they would have just been storing down here.
No.
This is intentional.
Yeah.
Something built for a purpose.
They supported this somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can see in here. Oh, I hope that's just hay. No, they did say that the floor was removed in the 50s or 60s. However, now looking inside, we can get a different... So the chimney was there.
So the teacher's desk probably would have been right up there, you think?
Yeah, the teacher's desk would have been up. This was the front. So I imagine both sides would be lined here with desks for the students. There was a platform about a foot high that
stage.
that set the teacher's desk up on top of it. It wasn't nailed to that platform though. The children, I guess, were able to move that desk around and things, and had even done so while Cyrus was here, and did not discover any anomalies in the floor that would lead him to believe there was a trapdoor right there.
Okay, so you were pointing out back here that
Yep.
this hole on the wall here would have been probably where the stovepipe would have been for the stove.
Yeah.
And we're probably looking at where the platform would have been, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So the teacher's desk may be like right in this area. And I'll turn around as if I'm sitting where the teacher's desk is so we can see the back of the schoolroom. Trying to imagine it from back in 1897.
And I kind of thought it was funny. One of the students,
You can see
one of Mrs. Howard's students, would light the fires for her because she was not handy with that sort of thing.
Oh, she didn't like to. Okay.
So yeah, so he would approach the school, see smoke coming out of the chimney. He was one of the many witnesses that saw the chimney smoke passing the schoolhouse, and he would get up and in here and touch the stove, and it would be cold to the touch, and he couldn't figure it out. However, he readily confessed. He readily confessed to where he was staying. He readily confessed to what he had been doing. And who he was, where he came from, and that sort of thing. The state of Nebraska had put out a bolo for him when he was escaped from the prison there, with his description, and so he confessed to that. He didn't want to talk about his crime in Nebraska, he said. I do have a quote from him on that where he said that he rather not talk about that because it would involve people that were innocent or something. It was very cryptic. However, given his sentence and the fact that he was convicted for theft, it had to have been a very petty crime because, like I said, it was only 1 year. But he talked about his life. He was born on October 10/8 of 1869. So within a few years after the Civil War was over, he was born in Ohio.
97. Okay, yeah.
Yep. Okay. And he lived there. His mother passed away just as right after he turned 1, not very long after he turned 1. So he stayed there with her parents, and they raised him till he was 10 years old. And then they shipped him out to Missouri to live with his father. There is no history given as to what happened between mom and dad. If they separated or dad was a Civil War vet. So he came to settle in Missouri after the Civil War and never left there. Who knows? But at any rate, Cyrus ended up out there. And he lived with dad. He said that dad had never remarried or anything. So it was just the two of them for 7 years, which would put Cyrus up to the age of 17. And that was the first time he left home. And then he kind of milled around Kansas and did some odd jobs out there. And then came back to Missouri and stayed with dad for a little bit longer, and then left again at the age of 20 and came up to Nebraska. And he actually took a teaching job in Nebraska. And so he was a teacher himself for a little bit of time. And then he turned to theft to pay off, he said, a debt to his brother. I don't know where the brother came from. His dad was a bachelor that whole time for the first 10 years of his life. I don't know where the brother came into play because he didn't mention my brother and I went to Missouri to live with my dad or anything. This brother just kind of popped out of nowhere. That's why I say Silas is kind of a different character. When he got caught here and he was facing trial, and before he went into Stillwater, before he was sentenced here, his father had wrote to the judge appealing to him and said that he was a good boy and a good young man growing up. He just only recently kind of started acting weird and funny. And he was like, a lighter sentence would do him better than a longer one. Well, the judge didn't really pay attention to that. He sentenced him to 5.5 years in the Stillwater Penitentiary. And he sat all of that 5 years. He didn't try and escape out of there. But then he was sent back to Nebraska to finish the remainder of his sentence. So he was 7 months in there when he escaped. So he would have only had 5 left to go.
Yeah.
I don't think the prison system had good time back then or anything like that. They took into consideration, so,
Yeah.
and especially if he escaped, he probably that day for day. And then after that, he just completely fell off the map. He did tell Mrs. Hauer when she went to visit him at the Mankato jail that he planned on writing a book about his life. And she had commented, I sure would love to read that book, but I never know if he actually wrote it or not.
So we don't know.
We don't know. And yeah, we don't know where he ended up, if he went back to Missouri, stayed in Nebraska, or went elsewhere after that, and what kind of life he led.
Oh, yeah. The rest of the story, maybe someday we'll find out.
So there is still some mystery about the ghost.
Yeah, the ghost.
He has that name tag, the ghost of the Yaeger Schoolhouse. And he does have a couple of different aliases. I found with Silas Gray. That's the one I used on my Facebook post. The other one I saw was Cyrus Gray. So I don't know there again, with different newspaper reports and stuff and the accuracy. I don't know if he used one or both of those aliases. But he did give his true name right away too. So an alias again. It's like, why did you do that?
It was a nice crook.
Yeah.
And a nice ghost.
Yeah. And he was adamant that he never stole anything he didn't need or wasn't going to use for himself. And by and large, that was the majority of it. You know, the hams going out of the smokehouses, stealing a cow, milking it, and bringing it back. Eggs from the chicken coops, clothes from the clothesline. You know, he needed linens for his cot, and you know, and then all of that stuff too. Where did you get the cot? Where did you get the furnishing you used? So the kitchenware. They said he used to, you know, sneak into people's cellars and get their preserves.
Oh my gosh.
He made sure he never was going to starve.
And extremely stealthy.
Very stealthy,
He must not have been a very big guy. He was able to.
No, they said he was small in stature. They didn't give a height and a weight for him, but they said that he was a tiny man and very fast too. That he was involved in a foot pursuit. I forget which law enforcement or which direction of which area of Blue Earth County it was in, but he was able to dart off and hop into a train car, and the pursuing law enforcement agent thought, okay, now we're rid of him. He's gone forever. They didn't know at the time who he was. They just knew that he was up to something and that he was a tramp and it wasn't trying to make roots here and live legitimately. And then that's when the bike came up stolen after that. But he was able to lose the law enforcement in the woods. He was a very, very stealthy little man. But I see the I don't want to call them flanges, but the supports, like right outside this window here, that is drawn onto here. So this must have been an original support for the structure. Dug out.
John wrote his name back there.
Yeah. See, and I don't know if that was. Yeah. That's the thing that I really like about that too, is that people didn't really get in here and spray paint it or anything like that. You know, for the most part, it's about it, you know, as original state as it could be without having. And
these windows are just so majestic.
They are. I'm just impressed by the height of them and like.
And the bricklaying. I mean, that's good brickmanship.
Yeah.
For what I know, what little I know, but you know, it's lasted a move.
Right. And you know, these bricks are probably locally sourced too.
Oh, I suppose.
I mean, these frames clearly are all original in here. You know?
Yeah.
Those weren't replaced at all.
It is a really neat structure.
Yeah.
Amazing. So thankful that, you know, the people that own it are so proud of it and so willing to, you know, let us come tour it, and grateful
for sure. Yes, please extend our sincere thanks. Well, thank you so much, both of you. This is really
This is so fun.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it.
We'll have to collaborate on more adventures.
Yeah, absolutely,
This has been
absolutely.
great
I mean,
fun.
anything history, local, to.
Oh,
Oh,
my gosh.
That's it. Probably the original hinges on there.
yeah, it
Jeez.
sounds like it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I mean, it fits. It's not a flashy, out of period color. It's very simple. You know.
Just that one hole above the door and a crack. But I wonder what would have been up in the hole, up on the top, the circle.
A decorative window, I believe. If you look at
Oh,
photos from the 1900s, I believe it was like a decorative little window. It's a very ornate school
yeah,
for a country school,
Right. For that time
you know,
period.
yeah.
You're for that
curious
time period.
people, so of course when the story broke about this ghost that lived under the schoolhouse, they had people, somebody capitalized on it and charged 10 cents a pop for people to come and look.
And look at the school.
Yes, and their biggest revenue in one single day was $10. However, they still managed to fall short, and it wasn't just a single person like, oh, I'm gonna capitalize on this idea for myself. They were trying to raise money to repair the school, the damages that Cyrus had did to it, because he did weaken the floor
Yeah.
while making the trapdoor, and
Yeah.
so they were never able to really raise enough money.
Yeah.
Limited news at the time. I'm sure the majority of it was newspaper and word of mouth.
Yeah.
So they did get some rubberneckers and some curious cats out here to look at it who did pay for it, but it was just sadly not enough to restore it back to the way it was before, structurally before he came along.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they did the sightseeing tour.
Oh my gosh.
I thought that was just reserved for the real morbid things like the murder scenes and that sort of stuff, but no, I mean, I guess, any way you can get your entertainment. And
Yep.